So, um, usually when we talk about our feelings, we sort of treat them like, well, weather events.
Yeah, that is a really good analogy, actually.
Right, because the rain falls where it falls,
Yeah.
and you just happen to be standing in it.
You wake up and there's just a sudden cloud over your head.
Or maybe you were struck by a bolt of joy out of nowhere, you know?
And you were just standing there, the emotion just sort of happens to you?
Yeah, I mean, you are basically the passive victim of your own internal meteorology.
Which is very comforting in a way.
Oh, for sure.
Oh.
It is comforting to think that way because it absolves us of responsibility.
Right.
But if you step into the world of the 18th century philosopher Jonathan Edwards, that weather radar is just completely broken.
It is entirely dismantled.
Welcome to Reformed Thinking.
Hmm.
Today we are taking a deep dive into a text that argues your emotions are not weather.
They are not.
They are the vigorous, sensible exercises of your own soul's will.
To give a really high-level summary right out of the gate, Edwards argues that your affections are not accidental feelings that just, drop out of the sky and land on you.
Right.
You are the one doing the acting. And this shifts the entire paradigm of how we view human consciousness.
Because you are not a passive receptacle for feelings.
No, not at all. When you experience intense love or burning anger or overwhelming grief, your soul is actively producing that state.
So our mission today is to dissect this classic philosophical and theological text, where Edwards answers one very specific, massive question.
Which is, what are the affections of the mind?
Right. If I'm the one doing the acting, then my joy, my grief, my fear, they are not things I am catching like a cold.
Yeah, it is not a virus.
To grasp this, we first need to look at how Edwards blueprints the human soul.
He basically gives us this intricate architectural diagram of how the internal human system operates.
Right, so let's unpack that.
So he divides the soul into two distinct faculties. The first faculty is what he calls the understanding.
You understand.
Yes. This is your capacity for perception, speculation, and discernment.
So it is the part of you that views and judges things.
Right. It takes in the raw data of the universe around you.
Let's set up a courtroom analogy for you listening right now, just to make this super clear.
Oh, that is a good idea.
So the understanding is the fact-finding process.
Yeah.
It is the phase of the trial where the lawyers are gathering evidence, they are presenting exhibits to the jury, and viewing the scene of the crime.
Right. The understanding just takes in the data and says, well, here's what is in front of us.
But the soul does not stop at fact-finding, does it?
No, it does not. God endued the soul with a second faculty, which Edwards calls the inclination or the will.
The will.
Yeah, and this is the faculty by which the soul does not observe things as an indifferent spectator.
So it's not just sitting there watching.
Right. It actively likes, dislikes, approves, or rejects the evidence that the understanding just presented.
The soul is never a neutral camera recording footage.
Never.
So this brings us to the verdict and sentencing phase of our courtroom analogy.
Okay, yeah.
The jury has seen the evidence, which is the understanding part.
Right.
Now they must render a decision. They approve or reject. They declare guilt or innocence.
That is a really helpful way to frame it.
But I want to push back on this idea of never being an indifferent spectator, just for a second.
Sure.
I feel like I walk through plenty of my day feeling pretty indifferent about things.
I think most people would say that.
Right, like I walk past 100 trees on my way to work, and I don't feel a strong approval or rejection of those trees.
Yeah.
Why does Edwards insist the soul is never truly indifferent?
Well, Edwards argues that knowledge, so the understanding part, always triggers a reaction from the will, even if it is on a microscopic level.
Really? Even for a tree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Whenever you perceive something, your soul is reacting to it. You might not register a massive emotional spike when you see a tree, but your will is still functioning.
That's so.
Well, it recognizes the tree, it accepts its presence, and it chooses to walk past it rather than walk into it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and when the mind is exercising the second faculty, this will, Edwards notes that it is commonly called the heart.
The heart.
Right, and the heart is always moving.
It is always in motion, either pulling things toward you or pushing them away from you.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no static middle ground where you are just floating in a vacuum.
He details how this movement takes two specific directions. First, the soul is carried out towards things.
Okay.
It is cleaving to them, seeking them, approving of them, and being pleased with them.
And the second direction.
Second, the soul opposes the things it views. It disapproves, it is displeased, it rejects, and it is averse to them.
Let's use a very basic scenario to illustrate this.
Okay.
If your understanding looks at a sandwich, It gathers the data.
Right.
It says, that is a sandwich. It has lurkey, cheese, and mayonnaise.
The fact-finding phase.
Yeah. And immediately your will, your heart, either says, I approve of this sandwich, I want to pull it closer and eat it,
Right.
or it says, I despise mayonnaise, I reject it, push away.
Yes. This dual faculty model is the basis for all human action.
So you perceive, and then you incline.
You view, and then you choose.
The understanding provides the target.
And the will fires the arrow either toward the target to embrace it or at the target to destroy it.
So every single choice, every single preference is a function of the will.
Spot on. Every single one.
But wait, if picking out my socks in the morning is a function of the will,
Yeah.
and feeling an overwhelming sense of joy at my wedding is also a function of the will,
Right.
how do we distinguish between the mundane and the extraordinary?
That is the big question.
Are these really the same things?
This brings us to what we can call the spectrum of the will.
Okay, I'm listening.
Edwards addresses this directly by explaining that the exercises of the inclination and a cold will exist on a sliding scale of degrees.
A sliding scale.
Right. Some acts of the will are barely beyond a state of perfect indifference.
Like the socks.
Yeah. You choose the black socks instead of the blue socks.
Hmm.
Your will is engaged, but the intensity is incredibly low.
Hold on, I have a hard time buying that.
Why is that?
Are you actually telling me that choosing to drink a glass of room temperature water is the exact same biological and spiritual mechanism as experiencing intense, burning hatred for an enemy,
Yes.
just at a lower volume?
That is what Edwards is asserting, yeah. The will and the affections are absolutely not two separate faculties in the human soul.
Wow.
They differ only in the liveliness and sensibleness of the exercise.
The liveliness.
Right. When the approbation or the dislike rises higher and higher, the soul begins to act vigorously and sensibly.
Okay.
And those most vigorous exercises, the ones that are loud and lively, are what we define as the affections.
So think about a giant mixing board in a recording studio.
Oh, I like that.
You have all these sliders controlling the volume of different tracks.
Yeah.
Your will is a single track on that board.
Right.
When the slider is all the way down at the bottom, near zero, you are making basic, mundane choices.
Like scratching your nose.
Yeah, you decide to turn left instead of right. You scratch your nose. Your will is engaged, but it is so quiet, you do not even register it as a feeling.
But as you push that slider up, the signal gets louder.
The preference becomes a liking.
And the liking becomes a desire.
Right.
You push the slider all the way into the red zone where the lights are flashing, and suddenly that simple mechanism of choosing has become a roaring affection.
It is intense love, intense hatred, or blinding joy.
And it is all the same slider.
There's a direct continuum between a tiny preference and a roaring affection.
Yes.
So you do not have a decision-making machine in one part of your soul and an emotion-making machine in another.
No, it is the exact same engine running at different RPMs.
This changes how you view your own internal life.
It really does. It shows that you are unified.
Yeah, your intellect, your choices, and your highest emotional peaks are all bound together on this single spectrum of the will.
And Edwards notes that as that volume turns up, as the RPMs increase, it eventually breaches the boundary of the immaterial soul.
Meaning what?
Meaning it creates a massive impact on the physical body. Because as much as we are talking about the immaterial soul, we live in flesh and bone.
But wait, if the will and the affections are just the same immaterial engine running at different RPMs,
Yeah.
why do I feel a physical knot in my stomach when I am anxious?
Right, the physical reaction.
How does an immaterial choice cross over into physical sweat and a raising pulse?
Well, Edwards points to the laws of union that the Creator fixed between the soul and the body.
The laws of union.
Yeah, he argues that because of these fixed laws, a vigorous exercise of the soul actually alters the motion of the blood and what he calls the animal spirits.
Animal spirits. We should probably clarify that.
Yes, we definitely should.
Edwards talks a lot about animal spirits here, which we have to remember was basically the 18th century medical stand-in for the nervous system and electrical impulses.
Right. They did not have functional MRIs back then.
No. They believed there were fine, subtle fluids or vapors that traveled through the nerves to carry messages between the brain and the muscles.
And while the terminology sounds archaic to modern ears, his philosophical point is incredibly precise.
Okay, how so?
When he says the motion of the blood and the animal spirits begins to be sensibly altered, he is talking about a nervous system response.
Oh, I see.
He is talking about your heart rate spiking, your adrenaline pumping, your blood vessels dilating.
Right.
The immaterial will act so vigorously that it causes a physical sensation, especially around the vitals and the physical heart, which he calls the fountain of fluids.
So think about the last time you were truly frightened or completely thrilled.
Yeah.
You do not just experience that in your mind.
No, your chest tightens.
Your pulse races.
Yeah.
You might feel a flutter in your stomach or a sudden flush of heat in your face.
And this physiological reaction is the exact reason people across all nations and ages refer to this faculty of the mind as the heart.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Right. Humanity naturally started using the word heart to describe the mind's faculty of willing and choosing, because that is where the physical echo is felt most strongly.
So the soul acts and the body echoes.
Yes.
The physical response is an unavoidable echo of the soul's high-intensity action.
You cannot have a vigorous affection without the body ringing like a bell that has just been struck.
Wow, ringing like a bell. I like that.
And the process works in reverse as well, creating a feedback loop between flesh and spirit.
A feedback loop.
Yeah, Edwards notes that from these same laws of union, the constitution of the body and the motion of its fluids can promote the exercise of the affections.
So if your body is already in a state of high arousal,
Right.
say you just drank 4 cups of coffee,
Yep.
or you are physically exhausted and your defenses are down, your physical state can act like an amplifier for your soul's will. The physical constitution promotes the affection.
Yes, the laws of union go both ways. But this intense physical sensation often confuses our vocabulary.
Because we start to mix up the physical feeling with the immaterial choice.
Right. Edwards flat out confesses that language is imperfect, loose, and unfixed by custom.
Language fails us.
It does.
Yeah.
Common actions of life involve the will, but we don't call them affections because they aren't loud enough.
So because language is loose, we often struggle to define what we are actually experiencing.
To solve this, Edwards provides a strict linguistic matrix to categorize the affections.
Oh, I love a good matrix.
He maps out the territory with a compass and a ruler. On one axis, you have liking versus disliking.
Okay.
On the other axis, you have the element of time, whether the object is present right now or in the future.
Let's walk through this matrix for everyone listening.
Okay, let's break down the logic here.
We established that the soul is never moved from perfect indifference unless it is affected one way or another.
Right. We start with a vigorous liking of something. If your will is intensely inclined towards something, that is the affection of love.
Love. Okay.
And if your will intensely disinclines or rejects something, that is hatred.
So that is the foundation. Love and hatred.
Yeah.
Pulling toward or pushing away.
Yes, everything else builds on that binary.
Okay, so where does time come in?
Now we introduce the element of time. Suppose you have a vigorous inclination for something, but that something is not currently present.
It is in the future.
Right, it is in the future. Your will is reaching forward in time toward it. Edwards says that specific inclination is the affection of desire.
So desire is just love looking at a calendar.
I love that phrasing. Yes.
It is a vigorous liking of something that has not arrived yet.
Exactly.
But doesn't that imply that all desire is inherently positive? What if I desire for something bad to avoid happening to me?
Well, Edwards would classify that slightly differently, likely under a future-oriented hatred or aversion. Yeah, if you are vigorously pushing away a future event, that is fear or dread. Desire is specifically the pulling toward a future good.
Got it.
Now, what happens when that good thing finally arrives?
When the object is present.
Yes. When the object is present and your will highly approves of this current reality, there is a great degree of pleasedness.
Pleasedness.
Right. That pleasedness with a present object is the affection of joy or delight.
Joy is just desire that has caught what it was chasing.
Yes.
It is love enjoying the present moment.
And the matrix works for the negative reactions as well.
Okay, how so?
If your will disapproves of what is present, if you are experiencing a great displeasedness with your current reality, that is the affection of grief or sorrow.
Let's apply this to a real-world scenario so we can trace a single narrative through the entire emotional matrix.
Okay, let's do it.
Imagine you are planning a massive vacation to Hawaii.
Sounds nice.
When you think about getting on that plane next month, your will is inclined toward a future event.
Right, that is desire. Your soul is reaching forward.
Then the day arrives. You step onto the beach in Hawaii. The future event becomes a present reality,
Your will vigorously approves of the present moment.
and that desire instantly converts into joy.
Exact.
But imagine the opposite scenario. You get to the airport, and the flight is permanently canceled.
Oh, no.
You are faced with a present reality that your will vigorously disapproves of. You reject this new reality, but it is forced upon you.
Right, and that great displeasedness with the present is sorrow.
This grid takes away the mystery of why we feel what we feel.
It really does. It is just your soul reacting to what is in front of it, filtered through the lens of time.
Because we experience these affections so physically, the racing heart of desire, the tears of sorrow, the physical lightness of joy,
Yeah.
it's incredibly tempting to think that the physical body is the source of the feeling.
It is, but Edwards vehemently denies that the body is the source.
He does.
Yes, he states that the body is not the seat of the affections. The mind only is the proper seat.
This clashes hard with a lot of contemporary thinking.
It certainly does.
Wouldn't many people today argue that brain chemistry is the emotion?
Most people would, yeah.
We say things like, oh, joy is just a rush of dopamine, or sorrow is just a drop in serotonin levels.
Right, we treat the physical mechanism as the originator of the feeling.
So why is Edwards so adamant that the physical body cannot generate the affection?
This raises an issue of cause and effect, and Edwards addresses this using a pretty brilliant comparison.
Let's hear it.
He argues that the body of a man is no more capable of being the subject of love, hatred, joy, or sorrow than the body of a tree.
A tree. Let's expand on this tree analogy. If you look at a massive oak tree, it has a circulatory system.
Right, it moves water and sap from the roots up to the leaf.
It reacts to sunlight. It grows.
Yeah.
But no matter how perfectly that tree is functioning, the wood, the sap, and the leaves cannot feel joy.
Exactly. A tree does not have a soul that can perceive and will.
Right.
Edwards is saying that human bone, human blood, and human nervous system fluids, purely as physical matter, cannot generate love.
Okay, so what are they doing then?
The physical motions of the animal spirits are only concomitants.
Concomitants.
Yeah.
Meaning they're accompanying effects.
Right.
They ride along in the sidecar.
They accompany the affections in our present bodily state, but they are totally distinct from the affections themselves.
Got it.
As Edwards puts it, as it is the soul only that has ideas, so it is the soul only that is pleased or displeased with its ideas. The mind is the commander, the originator.
This is a radical defense of the immaterial nature of human consciousness.
It really is.
Serotonin and dopamine are the chemical ink that the message is written in, but they are not the author of the message.
That is a brilliant way to put it. The soul alone thinks, and therefore the soul alone loves or hates its ideas.
This leads Edwards to a fascinating extrapolation.
Oh, this part is amazing.
Because affections belong purely to the immaterial soul and are entirely distinct from the physical body, an unbodied spirit.
A soul existing without a physical body.
Right, an unbodied spirit is fully capable of experiencing love, joy, hope, or fear. We associate our emotions so closely with our physical sensations, the lump in the throat, the butterflies in the stomach,
Right.
that it is hard to imagine feeling joy without a body to feel it in.
It is hard to wrap your head around.
But if the soul is the true seat of the affections, then an unbodied spirit would not be numb.
No, it would be entirely capable of experiencing the highest highs and lowest lows.
And without the physical flesh slowing it down or dampening the signal, those affections might actually be far more intense.
Recognizing the mind as the true commander of the affections helps us distinguish between a properly functioning soul and one that has lost control.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, Edwards draws a sharp dividing line between affections and passions.
We use the words affections and passions almost interchangeably in everyday language.
We do. We talk about having a passion for a hobby or being affectionate toward a pet.
Right.
But Edwards notes that while they are frequently spoken of as the same, there is a significant difference.
Okay, what is the difference?
Affection is the broader term. It covers all vigorous, lively actings of the will or inclination.
So affection is the engine running hot, but running properly.
Right. Passion, on the other hand, is a specific subcategory that carries a lot of danger.
Danger.
Yes. Passion refers to sudden movements, where the effects on the animal spirits, the nervous system, are violent.
Violent.
The key distinction is that in a passion, the mind is overpowered and it is less in its own command.
Think about road rage.
Oh, perfect example.
Someone cuts you off on the highway, and within a microsecond, your blood pressure spikes, your face flushes red, you are gripping the steering wheel, and you are screaming.
Yes.
That is a passion. It is sudden, it is violent, and your mind has been overpowered by the physical reaction.
You are not in command. You are just reacting blindly.
In contrast, think about a lifelong, vigorous desire for justice.
Okay.
Say you work as a human rights lawyer. You wake up every day, year after year, with a burning, vigorous desire to right wrongs in the world. That inclination is incredibly strong. It governs your entire life, but it is not a sudden, violent loss of control.
No, it is steady.
That is an affection. Your mind is fully in command of it.
So affections are powerful, steady, and steered by the mind. Passions are sudden, violent hijackings of the system where the body almost overrules the mind's governance.
Are we being led by steady affections or tossed around by violent passions? That is the real question.
It is, and the analysis goes even further when Edwards identifies what he calls mixed affections.
Mixed affections.
Well,
So
yeah.
the soul does not always experience just one simple reaction at a time.
No, sometimes it pulls in two directions at once.
It is like mixing primary colors to get new shades.
That is a good way to look at it. He specifically highlights pity and zeal.
Okay, let's start with pity. If you see someone suffering, how is your soul pulling in two directions?
Well, pity contains something of the first kind of acting, cleaving to, or seeking, and something of the second kind, opposing or rejecting.
Explain that.
When you feel true pity, your will leans toward the person suffering. You experience a form of love and approval for the person themselves.
You're drawn to them. You want to comfort them.
Yes, but simultaneously, your will pushes violently away from their condition.
Right.
You experience hatred and opposition toward the suffering that is afflicting them.
So you love the person, but you reject the pain they're in.
Exactly. It is a dual action. If you only loved the person but did not hate their suffering, you would not intervene.
And if you only hated the suffering, but did not love the person, you just walk away in disgust.
Right. Pity requires both. You must lean toward the sufferer while pushing violently away from their condition.
What about zeal? We hear that word a lot, usually with a negative connotation today, like a zealot.
Yeah, true.
How does Edwards define the mixed affection of zeal?
Zeal is similarly dual action. In zeal, there is a high approbation of some person or thing.
You intensely love and approve of a specific truth, a specific cause, or a specific person.
There is the positive pull, the cleaving to it,
Right.
but that intense approval is immediately paired with a vigorous opposition to whatever is contrary to it.
So true approval of something demands a vigorous opposition to its enemy.
Yes. If you have intense zeal for the concept of truth, you will automatically have an intense, vigorous opposition to lies.
That makes total sense.
The stronger the love for the object, the stronger the hatred for anything that threatens it.
So zeal is basically love holding a sword.
Oh, I like that image.
It is the soul standing guard over what it approves of, ready to fight off anything that opposes it.
Right. It requires the soul to pull in two directions at once, embracing the good and fiercely rejecting the bad.
And Edwards notes there are other mixed affections, right?
He does, but pity and zeal perfectly illustrate how the will can synthesize different reactions into a complex, unified response to the world.
I want to pull all these threads together and summarize what we've covered today.
Okay, let's do it.
When you look at your internal life, you are not a passive observer watching weather patterns roll through your mind.
No, you are not.
You have an understanding that perceives the world, gathers the evidence, and presents it to your soul.
And you have a will that reacts to every single piece of that evidence.
Your affections, those high-intensity feelings of love, hatred, joy, sorrow, and desire, they are simply vigorous exercises of that will.
They're your choices and preferences turned up to maximum volume.
And because of the way we are built, those intense exercises echo in your physical body, altering your blood and your nervous system, giving you the physical sensation of a racing heart or tears of grief.
But the origin of that feeling is entirely in your immaterial soul. You are the one doing the acting.
This leaves us with one final concept to mull over on our own, building on Edwards' idea of the unbodied spirit.
Yeah, this is a fascinating thought experiment.
If the body is just an amplifier, or perhaps sometimes a governor or a distracting filter for our affections,
Right.
what happens when that physical limit is removed?
Imagine a consciousness stripped entirely of flesh, blood, and animal spirits,
Without the nervous system to get fatigued.
without the physical heart to give out.
What would pure, unadulterated joy actually feel like for an unbodied spirit?
Or, conversely, what would pure, unfettered sorrow feel like without the body's natural defense mechanisms to dull the pain?
If the weather is not outside of us, but inside of us, generated by our own will, then without the physical atmosphere to slow it down, the storms and the sunshine of the soul would be absolute.
They would be complete.
So the next time you wake up and suddenly feel like it is raining in your head, remember you are not just standing in the storm.
No, you are not.
You are the one generating the weather. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the source material. We will see you next time on Reformed Thinking.